Sean said it yesterday. The commander-in-chief, this is the showman-in-chief, and we saw it last night. The awards, Purple Hearts for the National Guards members who were shot here while serving here in Washington, D.C., the Congressional Medal of this or that for all these heroes, people who saved young girls, veterans who served our country. There was
just time out real quick. The Medal of Honor is for service members. The Medal of Freedom is for civilians. So,
all right, hold on.
There's the Medal of Congressional Medal of
halfway through the recognitions.
No, tons of recognitions. I lost track of them. You had a moment where there was the president was honoring the hero from the Maduro capture, or one of them who was steering the helicopter. We had a freed Venezuelan political prisoner uniting with a beloved niece who is in the audience. Recognition for the mom of the slain Ukrainian refugee who was brutally murdered, and that video went viral from Charlotte. Let's just start there.
Oh, the USA hockey team. Don't forget the USA hockey team. Which Sean Spicer was the first to suggest may march in. Yep.
And I mean, even often the media that is skeptical of the president was saying this was an incredible show. Let's bring up this clip of Major Garrett talking about this performance before I go to you, Dan, here on this.
Major here at the table. I want to bring the conversation back here to our group watching along. Major, you've seen a lot of these, I think, more than any of us. What stood out to you?
Well, look, before the speech, many Republicans said one of the priorities for the president was to make sure Americans after this speech had a sense that the opposition party was off the rails, was crazy, their terminology, not mine. Many of the contrasts the president articulated tonight were to drive that message forward. That not only do I disagree with the opposition party sitting before me in Congress, but I disagree with them so strongly, and they with me so much, that they can't even applaud basic common sense thing. And that line that you mentioned, that he added to the speech, whether it was ad-libbed or not, the first obligation, American citizens versus illegal aliens, was meant to create a visual moment of perpetual contrast.
Let's actually bring up that clip he's talking about right there, because we have that one as well. This was probably the most viral moment of the night. Let's play it.
So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
There wasn't a single Dem that stood.
Nope.
Not a single Dem on that. Wow. All right, let's jump out of that. Dan, you have to admit it was a good show as a Democrat.
I think I said this last night. I think you got to grade it in two ways. If you look at it as a show, it was a shock and awe, right? It was one after the other. Look at how many you just mentioned. Your newsletter did the same thing, right? Just so many kind of amazingly well-produced moments. I think Sean, I think you said it. The doors on the balcony were like a, rotating, who's next? Like, I gotta see this. I think that it was so long, there was so much. And I always try to center myself with these speeches to say, who's the intended audience? Who is their political problem? We all agree they have huge political problems and they've lost voters. And what are the issues those people care about, right? So, Rachel, I went through all the local press this morning, okay? Of everything you just mentioned, USA Hockey was in most, and the Charlotte Observer had the Ukrainian woman, right? Everything else was maybe one of the ones you mentioned or another one. When I was on on X last night, right? I was watching the administration, what they were putting out, and the influencers. At first, it was all over the place. Then as you say, Sean, the funnel narrowed towards immigration, which tells me that if they were writing that speech, what did they want out of it? I hear Major Garrett, they wanted to draw this contrast. Mm-hmm. The problem is, I didn't see a single story, mainstream or local media, that talked about the prescription drug plan. The IVF moment, I think, was the one that you might see in November, but the tree fell and I think nobody heard it. It is those voters. It is the economy, inflation, cost of living. They think he's extreme and chaotic. What is the one issue that's going viral? Immigration. You know what Democrats are going to say? We'll put the images out of Minnesota against your line. And they think they're going to win that contrast. So I don't think he helped himself. I think the base loved it. And I think the average voter sits there and just thinks, what was in that for me?
Sean, you
So
sure.
let me no. Well, I'll actually bridge this for a second, and because I'll be consistent. I said this last year or 2 years ago when Biden gave his. I'll say it. It's a speech. Like, let's remember what it is. Okay, it was a great show. This guy hit it out of the park. It was phenomenal. Trump does this better than anybody. The use of the door. I was texting you guys last night. Normally, everyone sits in the balcony, and you say, "Sitting in the balcony with the first lady tonight is so and so, and they did such and such, and blah blah blah." By using the hallway, if you will, to bring people in, coming in right now is so and so. He was able to maximize the number of people, the number of events that he highlighted. I thought it was phenomenal. I mean, like, and somebody, kudos.
Which
to the
of
team.
those, Sean, were your top two, or even your number one?
Well, see, this is the thing, but here's my point. But Dan, this is like, look, when you go somewhere, you go to a restaurant, you go to an amusement park, you go wherever, and someone says, "What's your favorite one?" And you go, "You know what? I love the whole thing." Like, it's actually, in my opinion, the idea that I have to struggle to think what was of all of the great things. Sometimes in a speech, you're trying to think, is there anything that it's the takeaway? This time, I'm like, yeah, I thought the substance was great. He talked about the Trump accounts. He talked about Trump RX. He talked about.
Have you seen the Trump accounts in a single press story today?
But my point
I wrote
is
about
that,
it.
yeah, but hold on, time out.
At the end,
But again, what I'm trying to emphasize at the top is to say this. This was the big picture thing, right? This was for the millions of people who work every single day, who get home, who are worried about their kids, taking care of the house, maybe a hobby, whatever. He laid out all the stuff that he's done in the first 365 days as president of the United States and gotten done. Many things that got buried. And so maybe you're right that but last night was a touchstone. I didn't know about Trump accounts. I'm going to go look them up. I never knew about this IVF thing. I'm going to go look it up. I didn't realize that Trump RX covered all of these drugs. I'm going to look it all up. But he basically gave people a blueprint of all of the things that have happened, all of the stuff that's been accomplished. I thought it was beautiful. And it laid out a bunch of things that every member of Congress on the right can go do this. He drew the contrast phenomenally. But like, again, I want to be clear that this was a speech. And the idea that everybody's like, what effect will this have on the midterms? If you think that any speech will ever have an effect on the midterms, then you're in the wrong business. This is a speech. And I think I read so many stories this morning about the effect it was going to have. And I'm like, you are a moron if you think that any speech ever has an effect on the midterms.
Well, of course people are going to be asking that. But wait, I want to go back to, Sean, you started to transition into the substance of the speech. The president made a ton of sort of policy pitches last night, banning states from allowing undocumented to get commercial driver's license. There's that story of the young girl who was expected never to eat, to walk, to talk after she was hit by an undocumented immigrant who was driving some sort of huge load of something. And there she was, her dad holding her up proudly in the first grade.
She was on Fox this morning.
Yep. There was the promise to keep repeat offenders locked up when he was talking about the murder of the Ukrainian refugee. There was the ban on institutional investors from buying single family homes, passing a healthcare bill, prohibiting stock trades on insider information for lawmakers, codifying the most favored nation's drug policies. Sean, with the exception of the stock trading one, I'm not sure a single one of these will go anywhere in this Congress, but the White House knows that, right? Like, that's not the point. What is
right? I mean, so
point is what?
Again, so first of all, the stock trading one's not going anywhere either. I mean, just to be clear, you think members are going to block themselves from making all this money? I mean, they're going to do.
It's getting more support by the day.
Well, you know what the problem is? They want to put the executive branch in it, and Trump said absolutely not.
Well, no, they want to. The executive branch is in it. They want to put the president in it. That's the difference. Okay. But here's the issue. I'll just real briefly on the Stock Act. What they're going to do is the same thing that they did in 1994 with term limits. They'll have 4 versions of it. So back in the day in Contract with America, we had 4 years. I think it was 8 years and 12 years. So everyone got to vote for something and nothing passed. The Stock Act has like 4 or 5 versions, depending on what it includes, how many family members are included. It's not going to pass. And because members aren't going to do this, they anyway.
Okay.
That being said, the goal last night was to send a message. Here's what I've done. Here's what I want to do for you. Again, it's a speech. It's like last night was, here's what I want to do if you elect us. Here are the priorities that we have. This is when a storm happens. Every member of Congress writes a letter to FEMA saying, my district just got hit with a storm. I want you. Do you really think FEMA didn't know that there was a storm in North Carolina or Kentucky and a member of Congress needed to flag them? It's showing action. It's letting the member of Congress say, I wrote FEMA earlier this morning and told them you need to give us an emergency declaration and the funding that we need. The president last night laid out an agenda and said, this is what our side is for. This is what their side is for or against. That was the brilliance of it. It's not about what's going to pass or what's not. That's not, I mean, in a perfect
here's
world,
the beauty of what Sean just said, because this is, again, last night, couldn't go to sleep. Go look at all the major Republicans in Congress who are up for re-election and go look at the Republican leadership's X account and look at what they posted. And look at what Sean and Rachel just talked about. It's like they're alternate universes.
What were they posting, Sean?
No Republican was talking about all of Trump's new programs that he put on the board, which we've said, none of them want to touch this stuff. They all focused on a little check the box of wages are up, inflation's coming down, right? So the messaging, again, I go to this. Immigration is taking off today. Members of Congress who are running, who have polling, who are focused on a laser beam, didn't touch 99.9% of Trump's speech in any of their communication going out last night. Now, today, I'm sure they're going to pick up on immigration because the influencer crowd is all over it. But Sean, you and I always say this, when a good speech, a good campaign, a good operation, everyone's off the same hymnal, everyone has their takeaways, and everyone's driving straight. And on our side, the beauty is the crazies didn't make the news. Now, to me, that's victory. The good news is I actually thought Spanberger did a good job. And I want to bring this up because the coverage she's gotten, not a lot, and Sean, you always say this, you never do when you're giving the rebuttal, is the 3 questions she put out there, right? She kept it short. She kept it simple. It was basically, are you better off than you were a year ago? You know, do you feel safer? Is the world more secure? Now, you know, to the right, it's like, you know, amen for Donald Trump. But look at every piece of data out there and it says that's not how voters feel. So her message got in every single press story. 1, 2, 3, bam, 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 neat and tight. Republicans are scattershot. I mean, I'm just.
They were, her response wasn't.
I'm happy to say when he does a good job. I'm also willing to say when I think he missed the mark.
But wait, was her response really in every press story? Because like
everyone that included the response.
I don't think many people were paying attention. That's the thing.
No, I hear you. But my point, Rachel, about message discipline is when her speech is included, right? You had the takeaway. If Sean and I know, if you write a press release, your boss will say, what is the one sentence that if they're going to clip out, we want to make sure is in every press story? I can't answer that for Trump. I can sure answer it for Spanberger, and every Democrat will sing that song today. Now, no one may hear it, but that to me that's discipline and that's driving something. And Republicans, listen to you two. You listed 1,000 things.
Yeah, all great things.
But that's
so the base hears it. The base hears it and says,
but here's the
every
thing.
one of those.
Can I listen? Go ahead, Sean, really quickly.
I just say that there's 2 takeaways. As I said, one thing last night was that because this administration operates, as Peter Navarro likes to say, in Trump time, which is it's fast. Part of this is to slow down and to last night make sure that every American understood what was accomplished, right? You can always go back and sell more. Last night to me was the idea of making sure people who didn't hear about a lot of the accomplishments got the Cliff Note version, and they got it. The second thing is, look, I've said this all along, and I'll at least agree with you on this piece. If you fundamentally in July and August of this coming year cannot answer the question, are you better off, like personally, we're screwed as Republicans. I believe that people will answer that question in the affirmative. They will say all of the policies have helped us for a myriad of reasons, right? But so Spanberger, yeah, I think that was the case to lay out. But at the end of the day, I actually don't agree. Right. I don't disagree. If you guys, we bet all the chips on that, you guys pushed all the chips on that. And we all have said the economy, how it's doing is where we want to bet. I believe we will be right on this. Obviously your side does as well, but this is the game and that's it.
I just want to list a couple of other reasons why I thought the president's speech was a success that haven't gotten as much attention. It's about what he didn't do, right? There was some talk about, would he heckle or go after the justices in front of him? He was the bigger person in this speech. He didn't do that. He shook their hands when he walked in. There was concern among some Republicans about a mission accomplished moment on affordability. We didn't see that. In fact, he said something like, there was a line that was like, you ain't seen nothing yet, suggesting that they're going to continue to work on this issue that is very important to voters.
He said, hold on a little while.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that is exactly the nuance that the White House wants him to strike. He also didn't throw.
But let me ask you, did that make a single story you've seen?
I was in my story.
Well,
good reporters pick up the right stuff, right?
Other than right, but that's my but that's my point. It didn't make anything.
There was concern about that though. And the other thing he didn't do is he didn't throw, with the exception of the codify most favored nations, which is something that, a lot of Republicans do not support. He didn't throw them under the bus. I didn't hear a single thing about credit card swipe fees, which is something that I was wondering, was he going to lean into them and sort of goad his own party to pass these democratic ideas? He didn't do that. And then one other thing on the contrast here, because I agree with Sean. I think the contrast of, okay, we have work to do, but do you really want this party in power? I thought that was really strong. And it wasn't just the immigration piece. It was also, the anecdote of, the young girl who was taken away by the court because her family wouldn't recognize her as a boy. That just reminds me.
I was surprised, by the way, that came up.
And then when it came to the Ukrainian refugee, in that moment when the mother was literally crying and Democrats, didn't stand to applaud on that, that was just I don't know. I was shocked on that. And then the president really leaned in and said, why are you not applauding? This woman is in the balcony crying. Her daughter was brutally murdered and you guys are not standing for that. I thought that was a powerful moment.
I think I will say this, and I saw it in real time when Trump talked about the baby being snatched. The left went nuts about babies being snatched with immigration raids, right? I know, Sean, you roll your eyes, but you got to remember,
no.
Our side talks to our side, your side talks to your side. I think the other issue that he had last night is, and even some Republicans said this, when he starts talking about Democrats hate people, they hate this country. They hate this. The swing voters do not like that side of him. And I know, look, our side didn't do themselves any favor. I agree with you, Rachel. I think not standing for some of those will wind up in TV ads. Maybe by the time we get off the air, they'll be on, digital ads that'll ricochet around to try to build momentum. But I also thought Trump on immigration and crime got hot. At times, I thought he was almost a little flat last night, but he got hot. And I know the Republicans love it. Democrats hate it. Swing voters don't like that side of them.
Can I ask you? I just want to ask a very simple question, and I'm serious when I say this because we both come at this, Dan, from very different perspectives, right? So I want to just literally play this out for a second. We're at the water cooler this morning at work. We're getting coffee. And you say, what do you think of the State of the Union last night? And I say, I thought President Trump hit a home run. I think that was one of the best speeches he's given. Gosh, Dan, I thought the Democrats looked like it was the contrast. He got what he wanted, right? In my opinion, I thought the Democrats fit. It was a great contrast. The question I have for you is, how would you answer that question at the water cooler right now? Would you say, hey, I'm proud that we showed resistance, my side, it was to your point about the contrast. Did you guys like that, or do you think he got the better of you guys last night?
I think that it's such a polarized country, and I'm going to grade this on a curve, which is they didn't stand, but they also didn't kind of, go crazy the way they did last year with paddles. There was one kind of moment primarily on immigration, Somalia, where there was a little bit of a back and forth and they were shouting at each other. Sean, I think there's two fundamental questions for November. one, you keep saying this, is the economy. Do people feel better about the economy? But the second one that I think is going to be equally as huge is who is viewed as more extreme, right? Is Trump viewed as extreme with Iran and Greenland and Venezuela and Minnesota and kind of whatever else he has up his sleeve going forward, because it's shock and all 24/7? Or are we viewed as extreme of they're going to reopen the border, they're going to, bring back DEI? Like, who can paint the other as more extreme? Right now, Trump is viewed as more extreme. I will be curious to see how many Republicans rally around that message, because as of last night and this morning, they're not rallying around that message running in races. They're just not.
I think, look, I disagree with the analysis there, but I think you're right in the sense that this is going to be all elections are a choice. And there's two issues here, right? One, to your point, how do we play who's crazier? The other is who doesn't get motivated. And that's the thing, is that right now, it's not just, do you actually think the other side sucks? It's, are you motivated to go up for your side? And part of the
and that's where Trump hit a home run, I think. He motivated, and that's what I said yesterday. Is it to the middle or to the base? And what I heard last night was that was a speech to the base, and that's why they laundry listed it. Let me remind you guys of every single thing we've done. Every single thing we've done. And the base went, looking at X, they're also up and down.
But let me just put a pin in this.
The base doesn't win the elections.
You hit this though. It was also, and here's what they'll do. These guys are quote crazy. If you don't go out and vote, the crazies take over.
And one of us said 6 months ago, they're going to say Democrats will reopen the border. And if Democrats don't answer that question, they're going to have to say, no, we won't. They're going to have to.
I want to move to very quickly what's next, but just a quick point. I mean, you talk about swing voters and thinking the president was angry and showed an extreme side. I really didn't get that. Like, I just felt like on moments he leaned in, a lot of these things were sort of common sense. And
I don't think most people think
Democrats
hate the country.
I think the challenge for the president is some of those moments when he did lean in, repeat offenders, immigration. Like I said last night, those are no longer the things that are motivating voters to show up, right? They feel like they've been checked the box. Republicans have gone a little too far on them, and they're more worried about the affordability issue. So, I think for me, the question wasn't, I didn't watch it and say, okay, the president is too extreme here, it's going to turn off voters. It was more like, yes, there's a lot of accomplishments here. Yes, there's a lot of contrast here. But what is it that voters are motivated by right now? So
I mean, anyway, that you just answered my question.
Yeah, sure. It's a fair point. It's totally a fair point. Let's talk about very quickly what's next. I mean, the president, Susie Wiles, has said that the president's going to be going out across the country.
Going to Texas, I think.
Yep. Oh, is that he's going to Texas? Okay.
Yep, I think tomorrow. Okay. Yep.
Okay, very good. What about on the Dem side, Dan? What are Dems going to do to, or maybe you think they really don't have to recapture the narrative, because you're saying you think that, how it played last night is good for Dems.
Look, I think, and I said this yesterday, victory for Democrats would not really be in the news. And as a rule, they basically, I hear you on the immigration issue, and that one they're going to have to see that again here in the future. But I think if you're Democrats, you look at everything we just talked about. And Rachel, you said, what do the voters care about? Affordability. Look at everything else we're talking about, right? So Democrats think, great, this morning we're waking up, affordability is still going to poll as number one. He still has a problem with Latinos. He still has a problem with suburb, like all the things. And they say, we live to fight another day. Yeah. And we move on.
Sean, what's next?
That's the key question. What you are asking right now is what matters the most. Yep. So I said, you guys have heard me. This was a speech. Okay. Yep. What do you do now? If you just let that speech happen and then this morning you move on, then it's all for naught. Do you get a ton of surrogates fanning across the country? Do you get the cabinet to go out? Scott Bassett does 5 events in swing districts about the Trump accounts. Bobby Kennedy and Dr. Oz, Jay Bhattacharya, and Marty McCary go out and do an event on. If you don't sell what you did last night, it's a tactic, not a strategy. So look, part of last night, and the same thing, by the way, for the Dems, they want to, if the response last night, yes, it fell flat, but you can take the Abigail Spanberger message or whichever one that you want. If you don't go out and sell this right now, it was a one night speech. So what you're asking, Rachel, matters. I'm constantly frustrated by Republicans who are like, what are we going to do now? As if they're just bystanders in the political process. Like Republicans on the House and Senate side, the Dems went off to Leesburg to have their retreat this morning. Republicans should say, guys, every one of you needs to do 5 things to get the message out last night.
Whatever you Republicans are in Florida this weekend to talk about this. They're all going to be down at Doral this weekend. Yeah, so if you're in Miami,
but the key in all of this is if you don't go sell it, it dies. And that's what both sides need to emphasize. If you just don't pick the 5 things that you liked last night as a Republican member of Congress and go out and sell those 5 things.
Well, that's why I say, and tomorrow we'll have it as a topic, I think. What are all the members of Congress in tough races on the R side and the D side saying by the end of today? And that will tell you if there is discipline, and to Sean's point, a torch is being carried, or if it's just a scatter shot of, stray bullets.